How you doing, buddy?
What you said.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I always good to have an excuse to see your smiling face. Beard's beard's looking a little grayer than last time we talked.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to talk. I was just, man, I mean, you know this. The new movie's coming out. It's been 10 years, almost to the day since the old one came out, and still 10 years later, it's rare that a week goes by when someone doesn't post on Facebook or send an email to our email address that's just like, "How's Parnell? How's Parnell doing? What's going on with Parnell? I want more Parnell." So I thought this would be cool now that you've seen the movie to just kind of catch up and not just hear what you think about the movie, but like tell people what's been going on. I mean, since the first movie ended, you started dating again, right? For the first time in how many years?
35 years.
35 years, yeah.
Years.
Well,
It was a very rude awakening.
what do you mean?
Very. Um, I didn't know that the world had changed as much as it changed, and I thought I was keeping up, but I wasn't. Um, People have different expectations. Yeah, I think that's the way to put it. Because I was thinking that the world didn't stay the same.
What surprised you the most, or what was the biggest change that you saw?
Oh my goodness, how forward women are, and how, oh my goodness, how do I put it? How how these young men just they don't appreciate women. Not the same world, you know, not no kind of shape, form, or fashion. People just think that it's okay to say and do whatever they want, and that's true. But when you say certain things like, "Hey, do you want to come over and watch a movie?" It doesn't mean come over and watch a movie. Or, "Hey, would you like to go to dinner?" It doesn't mean let's go out to dinner. There's a lot of additional things to go along with that. And I was pretty naive because I thought that dinner meant dinner and I thought that a movie meant a movie. But
I, I think one of the many amazing and crazy things that happened when the first movie came out, one of the craziest to me was the Dave Parnell groupies. I can remember I'd be hanging out at Engine 50 and like women of like many ages would come by and you had retired and they'd be like, "Where's Parnell?" What was what was that like having groupies?
I could say a very rude awakening. I mean, I've always had friends, and I've always had a lot of people that I affiliated with and associated with. I mean, I was always involved in the schools and in church, and it just never was as fast forward as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, moving like that. Yeah, it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the truth. I'm setting my ways.
All these years of filming with the Detroit Fire Department, 12 years. I don't think I only heard you raise your voice once, and that's because someone almost T-boned the fire truck when we were in it. Or the engine, sorry, when we were in it. And I don't think I ever heard you raise your voice at the firehouse. You were always like, I always felt like you were the stabilizing force, right? I think even in the first movie, I forget what the saying is. One of the guys says that you're like the calm. You're always the calm in a place that can be pretty stormy, not just with all the calls, but the firehouse has some pretty volatile personalities at times.
Yes, it does. Yeah, yeah, but it's I've been that way my whole life. I mean, it's not something that just happened a few minutes ago. My parents were the kind of parents where my mother, she carried a bullwhip across her shoulder, and she didn't mind reaching up and whack out. And my dad was like, "Excuse me, did I hear you raise your voice at me? You were, you could talk to me about anything. Just come in and talk to me." And that's the way I've always been. Okay, if I can talk to you about this, then let's talk. And then some of the women that I ran into, some of the quote unquote girlfriends, I need you to know what I'm talking about. Well, I would listen a lot more intently at a very lower pitch. But where you going? Home. You leaving me? Yes, I am. I'm going home. You want to talk? Give me a call. I can hang up.
I feel like if somebody's trying to rile you up, that's a complete waste of energy. Um,
Yeah,
you're
you don't
pretty,
want you you don't want me mad.
no, I figured. I know how strong your hugs are, so I would hate to see what happens if you're mad, put a hole in the wall. In the same way that in the firehouse, you were this calming force that attracted people. It was the same thing in your neighborhood, right? When I went to your son's wedding, and I was like, Dave has way more kids than I thought, and it turned out these were just all kids from the neighborhood that you were like a surrogate father to, which
Oh
was
yeah,
so cool.
yeah. I've had oh my goodness. I actually had a young man that belonged to the church that took our last name. And I'm as proud of him as I am of any child that I have. But yeah, and it's really dangerous if yeah, that's my son. Well, no, because he's the same age as this one. You couldn't have been doing that. No, I wasn't doing that, but he's still my son. So it's like it's like my daughters. It's like when my little niece, and we aren't blood related, but we are blood related because we're love related. And I think that's what it should be. I think that's what the world needs more of, being love related without having to ask a bunch of questions, because everybody needs that shoulder to just cry on. And when her father passed, everybody was looking for her. Nobody could find her. Like, where is she? Where is she? And
Oh
her
wow.
mother said, you know what? I know where she is. Call Uncle Dave. And they called, and I said, yes, she's sitting here crying on my shoulder. So it's a
Hmm.
blessing.
I was um I was back in your neighborhood in Engine 50's district just a little over a year ago, and I was amazed at how much has changed. The movie kind of gets into that too, where we follow not just the city, but the area around Engine 50, which is also your home over the last 10, 12 years. I know how my perception of how the area has changed, but what are the changes you've seen in Detroit and around Engine 50 in the last 10 years?
It's changed dramatically, but they just sold a house 2 blocks from my home for $50,000, which tells me that it's coming back.
And back when we were hanging out with you like a lot, I feel like those houses you couldn't get 5,000 for them sometimes. One of the questions we got a lot from people after the first film is not just what was going on with you, but yeah, what happens when you retire? I mean, being a firefighter is hard enough. Being a Detroit firefighter is about as rough as it gets, and we get into some of the creaks and moans and groans of when you get past 60, and that's it's been a lot of cold nights and a lot of wet nights and a lot of arthritis and things.
Yeah, and all of that's true. And the most important thing that I could say right now is if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And that's those are the things that have kept me going. The exercise and the walking, um, the different moves, um, go to the VA and work out.
Another thing that was pretty amazing after the first film came out was there's certain Parnellisms, lines you said. There's some in the new ones in the new movie that just really struck a chord with people. I mean, guys would send us photos of tattoos of things you said, or one is the catch line for the first movie, which my head could forget what my eyes have seen. And I see that on all sorts of t-shirts all over the place now related to the fire service. What what is it about your perspective on the world that you think really struck a chord with people? Do you have any ideas?
People like to be thought of as human beings, and I don't think we do that often enough. Um, I don't care what color you are. I don't care anything about your background. I'm I have white people in my family. I have black people in my family. I have Indians in my family that are blood related to me. I have Irish people that are blood related to me. Um, I think we should all take the time to remember that I don't think you want anything different for your children than I want for mine. And I think that's always struck a chord with me. I think until we actually sit down and think about this and talk about this, that's all we really want. We want the same thing. And I think we can all have it. I don't think it's something that should be reserved for anyone, but should be applied to everyone. And it's just love. That's it.
It's so great. I feel like even if we were on a fire scene or you total stranger, you always, when you spoke to them, oftentimes it's one of the worst moments of their life. They felt listened to and heard and cared about. And I mean, I can't even, I lost count of the number of times I saw you help people create a place for calm and healing and maybe putting things in perspective, right? Because when your house is burning down, it can feel like the world's ending. And I saw you do that with so many firefighters on the road. Guys would just come up and just want to hug you or talk to you or tell you their story. And I mean, literally hundreds of times just when I was around, that you truly, every single time you truly listened to them and responded with something that was genuine and from the heart, which I think is pretty rare nowadays.
People think about self, and I don't understand that. I come from a family of 13. There isn't time to think about self because there's always someone else that needs your help. There's always someone else that just needs a kind word. And I think that's what shocked me more than anything about everything that was going on with where we are now. And I would like to see the kindness of the world shown. In my opinion, right now, the world is showing you their anger as opposed to their loving kindness.
What's your what's your advice for people when people are so polarized and everybody I feel sometimes it feels like everybody has somebody they hate right now.
Sit down and think about it. You know, sometimes I think we just have to stop and think. Just that moment of kindness. You know, it's the same thing all the time because what do? We say, "Help, police! My brother, sister, mama, daddy is really crazy, and they're fighting and they're shooting and they're stabbing." So when you come and you hit them with a taser, or you hit them with a couple of tasers, and they still don't stop, and then you are left with the only thing that's left is to shoot, and you shoot and you kill that individual. It doesn't mean that that's what you want to do. And I think the saddest part about all of that is in the world, we think about, man, they killed their brother, they killed their sister. No, 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 no. What about the person that did the killing? Don't you think that they took something too? I mean, why do they have such a high rate of alcoholism? Why do they have such a high rate of divorce and everything else? Because of the things that they see every day. When I said I wish my head could forget what my eyes have seen, it's because you just can't believe it. So why don't we just stop and give a hug? Why don't we stop and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. Let's get past this. Let's work together. Let's move forward. When the guy came into the engine house, I'm not going to say his name, he came in, he looked at me and he said, Parnell, let me tell you what I do. I fight in cages and I hate everybody. So I walked up to him, I hugged him, I gave him a kiss. And he looked at me and said, I'm going to really have problems with you, aren't I? And I said, no, because we're going to get to be friends. And that's all I think anybody ever wants to be, is friends. You know, people fight in cages every day. You just don't see them. You don't see the cage that surrounds them, I should say. You don't see the cage that surrounds them because we don't look. Yeah, I don't think we look. But there's cages that quote unquote surround us all the time, but we just don't pay attention to it because we're too busy looking at what we're in and how we're in it. And you're not in that big of a hurry and you're not in that big of shape. You just take time to live and love. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's an amazing answer. It's also making me miss these conversations that we used to have more often. Um, I guess maybe one more question. So you saw the movie. What was that like watching the new film?
It was great. It was I had talked to a few of the guys and it was real scary. I'm sure if I hadn't had to retire that I would have stayed a little longer because when Gloria left, I didn't know what direction I was going in. I was totally lost. What am I going to do next? Because you have all of these plans that you have, grandiose plans that I've made this out and I finally made it. Now I can do what I really want to do. And your whole life turns and you wonder, like, okay, now what do I do? You know, the world needs to hear the story of firefighting because these men and women that put their lives on the line every single day go home to their families and they take a piece of that pain that they had with them. And yeah, I see that every day in the film. I see that. But the world needs to hear that story. They need to understand what that really is. Yeah, I
Uh,
love the film. But
uh, you're welcome. I just got to be there and point some cameras at you guys. Thanks for letting us. Thanks for letting us do it. You didn't know it was going to go on for a decade. So really, thanks. That day we showed up when nobody even told you we were coming.
yeah, well, it's everything that you do is how do I say it? Everything that you do is a life altering decision.
Hmm.
Most instances, everything that you do is a life altering decision. And we like to think that because we work at the plant, or because we work for the police, or because we're EMS, or because we do something as simple as work at McDonald's, that it's not a life altering decision. But when you see the way that people respond to different things, it is. Take the time to think before you act. How long have we been saying that?
Since
Just stop for a minute and think. Yeah. I hope that the film will be a teaching mechanism for the world because this is happening all over the world. I mean, this is just one segment, just one little segment, one little corner that we're highlighting. But yeah, it happens all day, every day around the world.
I just want to say thank you for taking the time. You were the only person whose opinion I cared about with the new movie, so I'm glad you liked it. And I'm excited to kind of share some new amazing Parnell stories with the world.